very much for coming in. I'm absolutely delighted you're here because, and there's so many of you, you know, that there's obviously, there wouldn't be this big group of people coming together unless it was a massive issue. And to me, it's a very clear choice. It's either we're going to support multinational corporations or we're going to actually support yourselves, you know. And I think it's very clear. Like if we either go down the route of and we can see, I suppose, the way things are across the world, that how our over-reliance on multinational corporations is less in this position now with Trump and you know what's going on at the moment. So we can either decide we're going to set up a public service, and I'm from a rural constituency, and I know, Terry, that we'll say what you spoke of, that like I know the reliance that old people, disabled people, to make hospital appointments, to make you know, their general livelihood, and I suppose, but I think that the NTA, it's a pity they're not here as part of this, that they can see this. Can I just ask, am I right thinking that everyone here is in support of having a public developed app that's going to be administered by the NTA?
Absolutely. You suggested it on my first meeting when I went into the Taxi Advisory Council 3-4 years ago. I floated the idea because I knew that there was an organisation being set. I knew Ubers. I always knew the danger of Uber coming into the country, and I always knew the fact that why don't we set up our own, the NTA controlled an app, which they have for trains, they have for buses, but that idea seems to be they don't want to invest in it.
And I think it's not because it's not recognised as a public good. And I think that particularly in Northern Ireland, taxis are a public service. You know.
I think down the future, definitely, it'd be a great idea.
They are actually piloting an app at the moment, even though they're using larger public service vehicles, as in minibuses and so on. But I think it's disappointing that they didn't choose a more rural location and pilot it. I do believe strongly that an NTA-run app would solve a lot of issues, particularly in rural Ireland. I think you could link a lot of the likes of the train services, bus services, local links, where it would drive the business as well. And I suppose from a tourist county, that would be vital too for us down in Kerry. I personally, and I think any rural taxi driver can see the effect that the multi-corporations are having with these apps. They're bringing the drivers out of rural Ireland into the bigger towns, into the bigger cities. Like Tralee-Town, for example, we have 15 taxis that either own or rent a taxi but don't operate in the town.
It's the same as Sligo. You know,
so,
and after a certain point in the night or a certain time during the day, not a hope of getting a taxi. You know, there's.
Yeah. If I may, it's also a proper form of data collection. Like if they have their own app, then they know how many taxis are on the street and where the pinch points are. Like, you know what I mean? So they get proper data, not data fed to them by an app company, Freenow or Uber, who have a commercial interest. They have their own data, and that's one of the positives from the government's point of view and from the public's point of view.
And I agree with you that it is luring people in to get addicted on fixed pricing, and then surge pricing will start kicking in and dynamic pricing will start kicking in as soon as people are hooked. Could I just ask you, I suppose I've missed some of it here, and I know you've covered a lot of this already, and I'm delighted that you're coming in to have the voice, because I think it needs to be said, and I think, but are the NTA open to listening? To having
Why ring them up?
But are they open to having a booking app?
No, there's no. Look, we floated even ideas of setting. If we want professional industry, and you know, and we want to invest in, like we proposed a apprenticeship program. Rather than doing your test online from a different country, you can do you can basically do your studying for your taxi license online. You can arrive, you can pay someone €500 to teach you how to beat the system. And when you beat the system, you become a taxi driver overnight. Here you go, out you go, drive a car, good luck, I'll see you later. We'll collect the money for your SGS, and we'll collect the money for your NCT, and we'll collect your money for your calibration for your meter, but we're not going to help you out in any way.
Right. So
absolutely no investment. So we're supposed to be part of Transport for Ireland, but we're not subsidised in any way.
No. And even the grants that you spoke about around disability, can you see the impact, I suppose, Uber and Freenow have had on disability or wheelchair accessible vehicles?
Well, I can give you the answer from the Wheelchair Association of Ireland. They are totally against the concept of Uber running the country, because they are not in helping out. If you look at their apps, they're not very wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
They are not proud at all. They're only about making money.
100%.
Listen,
Yeah.
and you know,
Wheelchair accessibility,
yeah.
It's been suggested for years that there should be an app set up for wheelchair accessible vehicles specifically, because sometimes people, although they have to pay a lot of money for a car, they don't particularly do the service that's required.
There could be an option in it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And sorry, Terry, what were you going to say then?
One of the issues, I suppose, with the wheelchair accessibility is the grant thing is oversubscribed year after year. Like last year, it was closed out after 20 minutes. This year, it's a lottery system.
So drivers want to have this option, but there's not enough supports for it.
I suppose one of the consequences of deregulation and opening up the national licence was the arrival of rental companies who have seem to have garnered the way of getting most of these licences and then renting them out to drivers. I personally think, and I think the Tralee Taxi Association would be calling that new entrants should be given a specific route to get access for this funding. And if you're in rural Ireland, there should be a priority for that. One of the interesting things as well with the NTA is that, like with freedom of information requests over the last couple of weeks, they've been asked about the recording of fixed fares on the taxi apps, algorithms, how fare compliance is monitored, whether GDPR and EU data protection issues were considered. They've absolutely no data whatsoever, or there's nothing coming back. So, there's a serious gap in how they are dealing with the way technology has moved from 10 years ago to where it is today.
Yeah.
They've been left behind, and they need to catch up big time.
But it's great that there's so many of you organisations coming together. Can I just ask you, Adrian, maybe, and Pat, that you're supportive of the app as well, that it's going to be an NTA public app? That
we have absolutely no issue with whatever will make the system work. And I've listened to everyone speak so far, and I want to support Mr. McGuinness here beside me, because the only one who today has talked about the need for a strategy. It's what we said from the minute we came in, Chairman, and you asked the question, Senator, that is the NTA listener? The NTA will do what the government tells them to do. If it's a state agency, will be given its writing instructions, its strategy by the government, by the Oireachtas, and everyone's opinion should be taken into account in the process of that. But the one I see being entirely ignored in the course of today's hour and a half of discussion is the customer.
yeah.
There's people out there today and every day who are not getting any taxi, whether they have all the apps or no app, or whether they're in urbans or rurals. In a lot of cases, there are people being left and they have the money in their hand, they're happy to pay it, and there's no service to be provided. So that's the issue, the big issue, and we need to deal with that. All the other stuff is granular that we can fix in the process, and it's not an us and them in terms of us as business operators and the taxi people as being. We're not against each other. We're trying to provide a good service for our customers, so are they. But we're working in a circumstance where the system is not working, and that's where government has to come in.
Thank you.